Hello and happy New Year. New Year, same show. You're watching Raptors. Today I'm Savanna Hamilton alongside Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. Amy Audibert, of course, will be joining us a little bit later. There's a lot to talk about with the Raptors. You know, we took a bit of a holiday hiatus, but we back now. And the Raptors, they're healthy? What is this team now? Fred VanVleet, especially, who's been a scoring leader for the Raptors in the last two games. Jonesy, how impressed are you considering, he's coming out himself of health and safety protocols?
Yeah, back-to-back games of 30 for the first time in his career. And the last time it's been done since Norman Powell back in March. And Fred looks good. I mean, he's doing what he's always done. Savannah, the thing is now, and you highlighted it off the top, the team is healthy. He's got help now. There are other weapons that give Fred a little bit more room to roam, and he's still doing all the things that he's been doing all year. He's 7 of 13 from distance in the win yesterday. In the last two games, 14 assists, 1 turnover. We were talking about all-star possibilities, and if the Raptors record makes it to a point where they can be looked at as a team that's going to make some noise or in playoff contention, I'm sure Fred's going to get a nod. There was a great note in the Raptors game notes about Fred being one of 6 players in the NBA to be averaging 20 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. And in the old line of the old NFL coach, Bum Phillips, I wouldn't say he's in a class by himself, but doesn't take long to do attendance. Luka, LeBron, I mean, he's in with some elite company, and he's playing well, Sav. He just understands what to do and when. Sherm calls him Steady Freddy, and he doesn't make mistakes. He does the right thing. He plays for his teammates. He plays bigger than he is. I'd like to see the Raptors stay healthy, and that will help Fred and this entire team.
Absolutely. Healthy keyword. And, it's not just Fred, it's the pieces around him that also elevate him to be able to contribute the way that he does as well. And somebody that comes to mind, of course, you have to talk about Pascal Siakam, because he matched his career high of 19 rebounds versus the Clippers. And in the following game, he followed that up with 14 rebounds against the Knicks. So Sherm, what do you see differently from him? I mean, maybe it's the new year, maybe it's the holidays, but going on the glass, especially on the offensive rebounding side.
Well, I think, Sav, based on what we've seen from Pascal, he really is showing that he's elevated his game. And I think players who are as good as Pascal, when they take control of a lot of the controllable things, i.e. rebounding, I mean, Pascal, he's long, he's athletic, he's very quick. There is no reason why he shouldn't be a good rebounder, because he can get to the glass. And the beautiful thing is when he rebounds defensively, he can handle the ball and he can start your fast break. It doesn't have to be kicked to Fred VanVleet. Fred now becomes a very offensive player on the wing when Pascal's handling the basketball. So I just think that his desire, his intent to go after it and get those rebounds, to me, is the biggest factor. But when you look at Pascal in the last couple of games, he's been phenomenal. He's really been aggressive. I mean, he's taken 18 free throws in the last 2 games and only 3 3-point attempts. That means his mind is set on attack, get to the basket, get people into foul trouble. And then he rounds it out. He's had 14 assists in the last 2 games, 7 each. So he's moving the basketball each. So you talk about the rebounding, we talk about the scoring, but the way he's scoring is very different. And the fact that those assist numbers are creeping up and it's kind of being hidden by all the rebounding numbers, it just shows that Pascal is really proving that he had a time coming back with that shoulder injury. He got back, then went to safety protocol, got out. Now he's getting a chance to really show us, put on full display everything that he's put into his game over the summer and over his time off. And now we're seeing him really take impact on the game on so many levels.
I think there's something to be said as well for the guys who held down the fort when the Raptors weren't available. The guys that are, our typical guys weren't around due to health and safety protocols. And so, I think about the G League and how a lot of people were ready. I think even about the CEBL and how a few of their players got called up to different teams in the NBA. So, Sherm, what did you think of the whole situation? And maybe on a positive note, how great was it for some of these guys to make their NBA debut? Not the ideal situation, but an opportunity regardless.
Yeah, and you can't worry about how the opportunity comes. You just got to be prepared for when it arrives. And you look at these players, and some of them are seasoned vets that got these opportunities. We talk about the likes of a Joe Johnson, Make 'em Dance Lance, Isaiah Thomas. We're talking about guys who have had some real skin in the game in terms of guys who have been in the league for a long period of time. Darren Collinson. So I just think that it's a great opportunity. And as you mentioned, Sav, there are some players that got opportunities that weren't in the league. And when you look at these guys and think about what it means to them, to their families, to sometimes not think that this is ever going to happen for them, but continue to grind with the hope that it does. And to finally wake up and get that call and say, hey, I'm going to be on a roster. I wouldn't care if it's because of COVID. I just think that when you get the call, you go there and you play as hard as you can and you do what the team needs you to do. So, in negative things, there are silver linings. And this is one of them. I mean, we don't want COVID to be here. We don't want it to impact our world, much less the sports that we love. But I will say this, the silver lining in seeing these some young guys, some older guys, but they're trying to get to the NBA, and to have that opportunity and come in such a volume of opportunities, people can look at it from the other side, but from a positive perspective, I think it's great that all these guys get this opportunity, and then to see them get these multiple callbacks, guys, some guys are going to stick based on these 10 days. And I think that's a beautiful thing for all parties involved.
Yeah, I think it was a win-win all around. And you mentioned it was great seeing the familiar names come back out and be like, oh yeah, it's been a minute since I've seen him play. But I think about the guys who are unfamiliar names, and just also the financial compensation of even a 10-day contract can go a long way as well. So just things to keep in mind when I was thinking about how much of a great situation this actually can be for a lot of people. But now we're going to hear from the Toronto Raptors head coach, Nick Nurse.
There's a lot of guys that can play that way. I mean, I think we talked about it a ton this year, and we do want to, defend multiple positions, rebound your position, handle the ball, pass the ball, shoot the three, attack the rim. We want a lot of versatility, and we're starting to see it. It's good to see. I thought Kem did a really good job. He was really ready to go. He was energetic and bouncy and got his hands on basketball, made some really good decisions. He's good pairing with Fred, especially if they want to blitz. I think Kem's been involved in a lot of blitzing, probably from, Terrence Ross for sure, right? Probably somebody else down there I can't think of right now that he's got a lot of reps playing out of the blitz. And I thought Precious was okay last night. I mean, I really liked his passing. I've never really he made 3 really great passes in transition that I'm not sure I've seen him do. So that was great to see. And then he probably, is tough. The game was kind of, I don't know, the challenge, I guess, not only for Precious, but for all the guys is, you got to go play and get your reps and get your conditioning and not really worry about the scoreboard, just try to do your best. And I think that was a little more maybe difficult for him last night, considering where he was in the rotation. But I'm pretty happy with again the passing and some of the plays he made, and just the ability to get some rust off him.
Now the guys are healthy on the court, so we're going to point out a few players in particular. First up, OG Anunoby back from a hip pointer injury, but he's looking pretty good, Jonesy.
Yeah, he is. This is something we've always talked about. If OG can stay on the floor, he is going to have an impact, and we see it at both ends of the court. Like you talk about his defense. I can't recall how many times yesterday against the Knicks, New York decided they're going to try that wing to top pass, and OG he's just lurking there, and he's baiting them. It's like, you're really going to throw that, and it turns into an easy run out for him and an easy dunk. We know the impact he has on the defensive end. He can guard every position. Nick Nurse talked about in their walkthrough how he would be guarding 5, and at times how he would be playing 5. And then I think about what goes on the offensive end, OG's built his skill set year after year. He came in as a standstill shooter. He's now handling the ball. He's playmaking. I can't tell you how many times yesterday he got to the basket. He had a guy on him he felt was smaller. He just had a physical advantage. And at times, I think a couple times it was RJ Barrett. He just, well, you know what? We're getting to the basket and I'm going to score from right here. And I think people are sometimes taken aback by his physical strength. And OG needs to continue to round into form, get his legs under him, get his conditioning up. And again, the same way we talked about Pascal and Fred having options, when you're playing well and you have other options on the floor to help you, it augurs well for the team. I think OG's been terrific in his return.
And with that, I'm going to take that as an opportunity to segue into Khem Burch as another option that's now on the floor. But he doesn't show up in the box score as maybe a Fred VanVleet or a Pascal or a Scotty Barnes does. He does something called the intangibles. And how important is that he, in particular, to the team, Sherm?
I think they're huge. And I'm a big fan of guys like Khem Burch who they don't need the spotlight. They don't need the shot attempts. They're just going to do all the things that impact winning. And that's who Khem Burch is. You know, he's going to defend. He's going to defend positionally. He's going to be great at help side. He's going to be very active in terms of protecting the rim. And he's going to rebound the basketball. And offensively, you know, what you, as you say, is an intangible, when I agree with you, is being able to operate in that short roll off the pick, making those quick decisions. Either you're shooting it, you're moving the basketball, you're putting it on the floor to create. Those are decisions that are usually left for guards, players who handle the basketball on the perimeter, players who can break people down. But he's been so good at that short roll. He has that little push shot that he has mastered. And you think about his ability to do things. And you know how you can tell when guys are those intangible guys? When you see the hero shot on TV, what you don't notice is a Fred VanVleet going over to Khem Burch and saying, great job. Like what you set that screen. I like how you opened it up. Good spacing. The things that you're not going to see, as you said, show up in the stat sheet or be shown on camera. Those are the things that Khem Burch does. And I'll take those guys every time because they have such a significant positive impact on winning games. And as we talked about, as long as everybody's around them on the floor that they need to be there, their impact raises even more.
Yep, like a full court brush screen off of the inbound plays makes all the difference. But we're going to head to practice right now to hear from some players.
I mean, it's just a natural thing. I know what he likes to do. And so if you get Fred going, then the team gets going because, you know, Fred's having a great year. He's a very good player. So I just always look at it as like, you got to help Fred out first, you know, just like I said, so the team can get going and get a win. It feels great. Like you said, everyone's back right now. You know, it was kind of down with the injuries and COVID, but, you know, just everyone's coming back and I can see the chemistry going right back up. So I'm happy that everyone's back.
I think, again, like I've had a tough year, just a lot of injuries and a lot of things happening. So I think that just obviously with the shoulder surgery, just getting like my legs under me and just continuing to improve and I mean, like I was asking the other day, I was like, is my shoulders going to be tight like the whole time? Like, I mean, because it's like sometimes it feels tight, you know. So I think that there's just with time it's going to continue to loose and it might be a little tighter than my right shoulder anyway. But I feel like, you know, just things like that I continue to get better at and I mean, even coming back, like I was supposed to come back like around November 20, you know, and I came back earlier than that. So I just think that, you know, it's been a grind and continue to get better. And I'm feeling good. My body's feeling good. And I think I'm taking another step also, just taking care of my body and making sure that I do everything that's right so that I'm fresh.
We're going to head over now to Amy Audibert.
Thanks, Sav, and Happy New Year to you. Here we are in 2022, and definitely a quieter start to the year at Scotiabank Arena. From my own experience, it was that was what it was. It was quiet. And especially key moments late in the game when you knew if there was 20,000 people there, the place would be erupting. But it's not new to the Toronto Raptors. Let's not forget the bubble life that they lived in Orlando 2 seasons ago, in Tampa last year. When I spoke to somebody within the organization last week, they said this is kind of just snapping back to a lot of the routine that they had last year. The only difference was now they get to go home and sleep in their own beds. So there's certainly a positive for them there. It adds something on the Toronto Raptors plate to have to generate their own energy in order to win basketball games. That being said, when you look at how they've opened up this new year, it's all right. Well, just when we've seen it all, these 10-day hardships have certainly added a new element to this season for the NBA and the G League. And while we know the coaches and the players are constantly having to adjust and really stay on top of things, I can't imagine what it's like to be a GM right now. It really seems like it's almost storm chasing and staying ahead of 10 days. Because when you're seeing some guys are finishing their 10-day contracts and another team is picking them up. And what's really interesting, to add another layer, is what's going to happen when the G League is supposed to open very soon, because a lot of these GMs are going after guys with NBA experience. And sometimes in the G League, those are the guys that are often leading teams. It's certainly going to continue to be a time of just constant adjustment and being ready to show up and play whoever or wherever that's for. For the Raptors, the most exciting thing is probably just the amount of available bodies there are right now, after they've certainly been hit with the health and safety protocols as of late. And so while right now it is definitely a time for them to start getting some more wins and really just staying in the fight, chasing that postseason, locking in an appearance would be great. But January is not only about winning some ball games. I think the bigger picture here is just creating that chemistry. These guys have not been healthy for more than a handful of games together all season. So creating continuity and chemistry so that really by the time you hit that March, April, you are playing your full strength basketball.
Thanks, Amy. Now, Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs are coming to town, and well, he is 12 coaching wins away from surpassing Don Nelson for most wins of all time. Jonesy, do you think he'll be able to do it this year? And I mean, assuming that he does, what do you think that he'll do afterwards?
He's going to do it this year. I mean, I look at Pop, and it's funny you talk about Don Nelson. We remember the record Don Nelson being here in Toronto, and how there was a big win. And I remember Nelly after the game, kind of on the court, and here's this guy in his later years jumping up and down on the court with Steph Curry and these young guys, and it was quite a sight. And Pop's going to get that record. What I've seen is the evolution of Greg Popovich as a coach. He came in with a really good team in 96, 97. They won a title in 99. He's looked at as this taskmaster. And what we really didn't know about him was his personality. I mean, he's an Air Force guy. Rumor has it he was into intelligence at times. And what we're seeing now from Greg Popovich is, we talk about coaching being more than X's and O's. It's being a leader of people, and in the NBA, a leader of men. And you see that he speaks out on political issues, on social issues, and that's being a leader. And it's not just the X's and O's on the floor. So he's going to get this record. And when he's done and he eventually steps back, Savannah, I just think he's so much of a lifer in basketball. He's going to stay connected to the game, and he's going to stay connected to people, political, social, and all of these issues that we're dealing with. And he will be a voice. And there was one time that people really didn't like to go to his pregame news conferences because you were kind of afraid, like, do I ask the question? He's going to call me out. Is he going to say it's a stupid question or what? And now you relish going to those because you can talk about basketball and other things. And Pop is always willing to give that insight. So he's going to beat the record. And then I think he's going to go on and continue to have an impact on society.
What I appreciate about Popovich is the fact that he was very vocal in social justice long before, the pandemic, so I appreciate him, always being that vocal leader in the NBA as a whole. And then there's another coach on the bench, not named Popovich, but Becky Hammond, that we do got to talk about real quick here. She just accepted an official head coaching position in the WNBA for my personal favorite team, the Las Vegas Aces. They're such a strong team, but what does this really say in the grand scheme of things? That's when I think about the situation, she wasn't able to secure a head coaching position in the NBA, but she is with the WNBA. And it kind of there's two narratives here. One, she's very qualified. We all know that. I think it's a matter of time before there's a female head coach in the NBA. And I still do believe that could be her. But I think if she wanted to coach in the WNBA, she could have coached a couple years ago even. But it's interesting. Jonesy, I would love to hear your perspective on this as well.
I think she's going to be a head coach in the NBA one day. And my own feeling is, the only thing that's missing on her resume is head coaching experience. She's learned from Greg Popovich, one of the best, the guy who's going to be the all-time leader in wins. She certainly has the respect of the players. She's been I believe she's been their head coach at Summer League at times. So the only thing that's missing is full-time head coaching experience where you're responsible for every single little detail, managing the plane and when you leave certain cities and when how the travel occurs and what you do when there's injuries and having all those decisions to make, because regardless of what level it's at, head coaching experience is head coaching experience. And I think that's the only thing she's missing. And I wouldn't be surprised to see her have a stint in the WNBA and then circle back and then bang, she's got the experience. It's better on the resume. There are certain things that she couldn't answer in an interview that now she's capable of doing, and away she goes as a head coach.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with both of you more. One thing about Becky Hammond is she's put the time in. She's doing the work, and that to me is so important. The meritocracy of the opportunity makes sense to me. And to everybody's point, she goes to the WNBA and she's a head coach. That's kind of the last check mark on what would be needed or considered to be the idea of moving her into that head coaching position in the NBA. And I think she will deserve it when it happens. She'll have the respect of whomever it is. The only thing I would say to this is that when it comes time, the Spurs better jump on it, because somebody else might benefit from all the work that the Spurs organization has put into her and say, okay, it's our turn to jump on another great coach, and the Spurs might not benefit from it. But I believe she'll deserve it when its time is right, and she'll be great at it too.
Just to piggyback on Sherman's point, a lot of teams do that. They say, San Antonio's successful. We want to know what's happening there. Let's grab one of their coaches. So to Sherman's point, San Antonio better not let that head coaching experience get away.
Absolutely. Now moving on, you can watch the Raptors face the Spurs Tuesday, January 4th at 7 p.m. You can watch it on Sportsnet and listen to it on TSN Radio. Thank you for watching another episode of Raptors Today from Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton, Amy Audibert. I'm Savanna Hamilton, Jake behind the scenes, as well as Luke. Have a happy New Year.